Very rarely does a drag race season, let alone a one-off runway, inspire me so severely and intensely. Normally I think, that was a cool idea and move on. But I have found a new spark of fire in Drag Race España Season 2. Ooh, this season is so good so far, and I just started it for the Drag Race podcast. And so far, everything has been incredibly enjoyable. So I just got to episode 2 and that day of the Beast runway worked my pussy out. It slammed it onto the floor and then it flicked me on my bell end. So today I'm going to be going through that runway many years after the fact, and I'm going to be ranking each one of the looks from 1 to 11 because this runway was so good. Even the ones that were on the lower scale were still good, and that doesn't happen very often on Drag Race. And to be honest, I have never been more excited to start a season as I have been for this one. Like, a lot of seasons get hyped up and a lot of people tell me, oh, this season's great, this cast is great, this judge is great, this panel's great, XYZ. I always keep my expectations kind of low so that I won't get disappointed, but España has not let me down in any of the seasons I've watched so far. And I went into this season having similar expectations, only to be blown away so far. So let's get into this, but before we start, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And without further ado, let's get into it. And if you are interested in more of my thoughts on this season, you can check out my Drag Race podcast, which drops on Sunday at 12 p.m. PST under That Sounds Gay under the places you find podcasts. Our first queen out is Kota Karahota. So at first glance, it is really more sci-fi than beastly in my opinion, but I don't think that makes it a bad look at all. I think the makeup is what is so interesting. And I mean, one detail that gets missed a lot is the inner ear. A lot of drag queens will go and paint their face an interesting color, but then somehow they'll not get the inside of their ears, and Kota did get in there. I love the triangle earrings. I think that's a fun detail. Something about triangles is very space to me. And then on the belt buckle, there's this amber, is that a praying mantis? What a cool little detail. I think this is a super fun look, and I think there's something kind of club kid about it. There's something a little Lady Gaga about it. This is just such a cool runway because it allows the queens to express themselves in a way that they wouldn't normally be able to do on Drag Race proper, but in España, because they are kind of this all-encompassing catch-all drag competition, putting this sort of spoopy Dragula element on it is so fun. Only because there are some really banger looks that are coming out, I put Kota at number 7. Next out is Jiriji Derklee. I'm already obsessed with this woman. I think she's so fabulous, and I love her personality, and I'm excited to learn more about her as the season is going. This look being this rose creature, I think is quite interesting. This is a very simple Amazon bodysuit. I swear I've seen this exact bodysuit in the past when I've been looking for things that would sort of just cover body that I could put stuff on top of. Even if this is just a jumpsuit with stuff on it, I think the intricacy of the stuff on it is what makes it passable for me and what makes it more visually interesting. I love the idea that this is a flower monster, and this does read to me more beast-like, I think, than Kota's does. However, it is a little more on the simplistic side in comparison. I think Kota did put a little more of her puswacha into that look. I think this is very clean looking, and I don't have a problem with that at all. To me, I'm actually getting Sailor Moon villain more than anything. This looks straight out of something from, I want to say, Stars. This looks more like a Daimon than it does some of the other monsters that showed up in the early parts. I could see Yu-Gi-Oh throwing this out into the world, and I love that. I think that the inclusion of the roses in the mouth going all the way around, it looks like a creature that was birthed out of flowers. It's scary, and I kind of want this runway to frighten me a bit. Call me a crazy girl, but I'm putting this at number 5. Next out is Ariel Wreck. So there are 2 looks of this lineup that I wasn't overly gagged over. Ariel's, unfortunately, was one of them. I enjoy the Donnie Darko-ness of this. I think there's something a little FNAF-y about it. There is something that is more modern horror meets like mid-90s horror. I don't know why my brain is also going to dark crystal. I think maybe it's just the saturation of blue. I think that the idea of going for something that is a little more of kid monster to this terrifying, creepy thing that has boils and blue liquid dropping off the face. I think there is something very scary and frightening about that. This being a more spoopy runway, my brain is zeroing in on what I would say about Dracula ghoulies. You know? Like, would this hold up underneath those tenants? Because really it's all about the performance, and I don't think that this costume and the performance were synonymous with each other. They kind of felt like they came out of two different storybooks, because the initial monster under the bed creature I don't think has enough fright factor to it. There's just something kind of plush cute about it, and there's not a problem with that when you're doing something scary. You can make something plush cute into something terrifying, and I think we saw that later on when Chiron came out, you know what I mean? And then I think this creature that's underneath with the blue liquid coming out, that feels like a separate story to me, and she tried to explain it on the runway, but I wasn't buying what she sold. And so for me, this is kind of a lower look. I would have loved if this had just been all the way carried through to be a kind of scary Donnie Darko meets FNAF thing. I don't know. I put this at number 10 just because it didn't gag me terribly hard. Next out is Samantha Valentine's. My sibling told me that I wasn't ready for this woman, and they were right. I have not been ready for this woman. I have not been ready for a single thing that she has done all season, and yet every time she shows up on camera, I'm like, you better work, diva. You are so crazy. I don't normally like comparing queens to each other. This many seasons into Drag Race, it's hard not to compare them to others. She is giving me, if Abby OMG and Poopy Poison had a drag baby together, she's got the same kind of crazy energy that Poopy did, and this performance level that Abby had, that she could sell pretty much any piece of junk on the stage to me and I would go, oh my god, I love that. There's this inherent weirdness to her that I'm obsessed with, that Poopy definitely had. This look is so grotesque, and you know what? In a Day of the Beast runway, I'm kind of wanting something grotesque. I want something that is gonna make my mouth drop and me go, oh, you know? And this initial look coming out with the painted on face, that was a pretty great match to her face. I thought she was just gonna come out and do a generic surgery storyline like we have seen so many times done to death on the main stage. And I haven't really gagged too many times that people have done that, but I think there is something that is so smart about this storyline. Is the real beast is the person on the inside who is chasing this perfect image to the point where they butcher their own face. I'm getting like BioShock vibes. Those girlies that would go down into the clinic to get their face worked on so that they could be pretty, but the doctor was just making them look worse. I love how glam it all is with the big pearls and the different shapes of them. This big blonde hair that's cascading in the back and these perfect curls. And everything is just perfect. Even the lips and the makeup on the eyes are meant to evoke a perfection. Then the skin comes off and the performance is even more terrifying. It's so frightening and it makes me clench. And this is a great take on the surgery storyline. We've seen, again, this done to death. What I also thought was interesting was the humor and cleverness of hobbling around on one heel and the other one being that slipper that you would get at the hospital, and having both of those on. Ugh, it's so gross, it's scary, it's frightening, it makes me excited. God, this inspires me so much. And that's what this whole runway did. It just makes me feel inspired. Honestly, Samantha Valentine's worked me out. I put her at number 3. Next out is Venadita Von Dash. We have a mummy storyline, and when this mask came off, there was some pretty terrifying makeup underneath, including what looked like prosthetic work. And I'm always a big sucker for prosthetics. I think that is always an interesting device to use on Drag Race, because prosthetics can really change your entire look and can make a story stick if you know what you're doing. And I think Venadita clearly did do that. I like the butterflies that are floating above the head. There's something kind of like 50s slip dress about this to me in the silhouette. I almost wish that to bring this to like a couture place, like there were some shoulder pads or something, I think that would have elevated it just a smidge. But that's me being so nitpicky because this whole look is very CUNTY, especially the way that it's being posed in this photo that I pulled here. I like it a lot, and I think mummies are cool. Mummies are very unfuckable though. Can I say that? Like anything necrotic, withering, bleh, get it away from me. Zombies, no. Mummies, no. If your bus is like falling apart, no thanks. But I do think that mummies are very beast-like. I think beast, I think monster, these are synonymous with each other for me. I liked the performance. Having these like body movements was so cool. And then the blood, I think, was an interesting effect as well. This was a great look to me. I put Venadita at number 6, and I almost feel like this is just like, everybody is in first place for me. They were all so good, except for the 2 looks that I didn't respond to the most. Next out is Onyx. Can we have a moment for this look? Can we have... Yo, this is the coolest goddamn thing I have seen on Drag Race in all time forever. It's so cool, man. She looks so freaking cool. It takes Beast and that sci-fi concept to the complete highest level of drag possible, because there's the teeth that are glued on, there's the extra eyes that are drawn on, the face is severe. It doesn't just look like SFX makeup, which is often the problem that happens, especially in Dragula, is that we lose a lot of the drag. And I think this does look very draggy to me. It doesn't look like a bunch of prosthetics were just put on her face to sell the look and to make it work. This is cool. The performance of walking out was cool. When something gags me a lot, if I rely on the word cool, it's because I lack proper verbiage to express how much a look took me out, how much it made me gasp for air and choke me out and make me want more air. Next out is Merina. Now when the look came out initially and there was that burned face, you could see the shoes that were pointing in the direction of the judges, I was like, okay, what is this? And then she turned around and showed the human face, and I thought, oh, wait, I'm kind of into this. The whole performance was very Addams Family to me. But my husband was in that fire. And I love the newspaper edition. The bodysuit is maybe not my most favorite thing in the whole world. I wish that it wasn't mesh. I kind of wish that it was maybe a denser material. I love the addition of the shoulders though. I think anytime you have a shoulder pad, I think that's hot. I love the pinstripe of this all because it's incorporating a little bit of that menswear, and I love when people experiment with gender and don't allow silhouettes or fabrics or shapes to hinder them in their drag exploration. I think the storyline is the most interesting part about this, and I love that when she turns around, there is a full body that's looking at you. I think that's impressive when that happens. And then of course the performance of, oh, but maybe I'm the one who started the fire. That was brilliant. Only because that this is kind of lower scale from some of the other beastly looks, I put this at number 9. But to me, this is kind of in the similar vein of someone like Samantha, who was going for a more humanoid beast. The monster is the one on the inside. Next out is Drag Sethless. I want to say right now, without having gone too far into the season and avoiding spoilers, Sethless right now is kind of in luck for the win, right next to Chiron for me. I feel like she's got this energy of someone who's a winner. I like this grandma got swallowed by the wolf look. I love the way that she's painted her face. I love the way that she even rhinestoned the tongue and the teeth so that it brings it to that next level of camp glamour. I like the dress, but it is a little more Ren Fair to me than anything. I think it's supposed to be a period piece, but I think the fabric choice does bring it out of period piece to a festival. I don't think that's necessarily a problem, but I think maybe the story could have been punched up just a smidge with the design elements and the fabric choices, but overall I liked what this was. I don't have a ton more to say about it. I put it at number 8. Next is Chiron, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, when it came out, I thought, a Raggedy Ann doll that is also a voodoo doll. I've seen this. I remember Jan doing a voodoo doll during her season, and I was gagged by that. I was really blown away. It was interesting visually and performance-wise to me. And then Chiron took off the face, and underneath was all that prosthetic work and this crazy evil, dark-sided voodoo doll that legitimately made me gasp and clutch my invisible rosary and pray up a call to God to protect me from any dark energy that was coming out of my screen. I loved the blue blood and the blue mouth. There's something dark-sided, demonic, evil spirit about that intensity of that kind of aqua blue that she picked. And then the stabbing on the heart to kill whoever was on the other side of this voodoo doll. The performance of it was, I think, what was most interesting. On top of the look being pretty great, I liked it a lot. What I've noticed about Chiron so far, every single time that she comes out on the runway, I don't think she's necessarily wearing the most luxe thing I've ever seen in my life. I look at a lot of her drag so far, only episode 2, and I think, okay, that's like pretty standard of what you would see in most nightclubs, most bars, from any typical drag queen of a certain age demographic. They're just wearing nice clothes. There's nothing bad about it, but there's nothing that's like, ooh, that's new. But the way that Chiron performs, the way that Chiron carries herself when she's on stage, the way that she is able to give you a story, sell it to you, and make you eat it and swallow it, I think is what is the most compelling part about her as a performer. And I think this look was no exception, because at the end of the day, this is such a simplistic look that has been done on Drag Race, on Dragula, in a million bars, in a million stages across the world, and yet the way that she performed it, the way that she presented it, made me feel like this was brand new. The idea came out of her head and no one else had done it before. This was the only diva. So for me, para mí, only for me, I put this, and it's fine if anybody else disagrees, I put this at number 2. Next out is Estrella Extravaganza. Okay, so I do like the divineness of this look, and I am pretty sure that I remember her mentioning divine. I like this tongue prosthetic with the glass in it. I think the storyline is pretty scary. I like the viscera that is on the dress. I think my problem with it is that it feels like 2 or 3 different concepts. It feels like, one, a clown look, especially the long tongue. It is reading divine filthy. And then I'm also getting someone who just eats glass because they've got like pica or something. They need to get on My Strange Addiction and talk about how they just can't stop eating glass. And so I think the storylines are a little muddled. Plus, the dress is very much giving, I already owned this. And I'm going to Drag Race and I have to make a scary beast look. So I'll paint my face white and wear this and it'll be fine. But it doesn't read to me like a lot of thought was put into the beastliness of this. It more just reads to me My Strange Addiction, scary, gross person who likes to eat stuff they shouldn't put in their mouth. And so, you know, the performance was fun or whatever. I did put it pretty low. This was actually one of my bottom looks, and I did put this at number 11. But I mean, this and Ariel's were really the only 2 I didn't connect with. So is it at the bottom? Is it number 11 or is it number 2? Because everybody else was number 1. No, I do think this was number 11. I think even if everybody else was tied for first and second place, this is still number 11. I don't think there's any way to get around that. Sorry, Estrella, I know you were watching and I'm sure you're probably disappointed that I said that about you. And last out is the Amante Mary Brown. I personally missed out on the cultural relevance of this look, but I can appreciate it for what it is. There's something haggy about it. There's something witch that lives in the bog that turns into a big creature. This was before Baldur's Gate, obviously, but to me, this is very much Ethel, who lives out in that bog and then turns into the big ogre creature. I love the bag that's hanging off on the back that's all bloody and gross. This is reading disgusting. This is reading filthy. This is reading beastly. And then the ropes that are coming out of the mouth are so gross looking and I love it. Oh, it makes me so happy. The makeup is pretty terrifying. I love the big nose. And then the tusks coming out of the mouth are cool. I like the hair. I think the silhouette is really bananas. I love how it's just big everywhere. And there's still an element that draws your eyes in to the cinching. So that does bring it to an elevated place. I think a lot of times when drag queens, especially on Drag Race, go for big silhouettes, they miss out that there's a fantasy that you're selling, and that fantasy has to include visual interest, right? And so the cinching and the corseting right in the middle, I think is really important to bring your eye in so that it's not just focused on this mass and bulk of fabric and stuff everywhere. So I think overall this is a really smart look. It's scary, it's beastly, it worked me out. And this takes the final spot, which is place number 4. This runway worked me out. It brought me so much joy and life and was a spectacle, and there's nothing I love more on Drag Race than a spectacle. If you're interested in more of my thoughts about Drag Race España Season 2, please make sure to check out my Drag Race podcast called That Sounds Gay, and I will be doing a outfit ranking in a few weeks, so keep an eye out on that. I'm excited for the rest of the season. Let me know what some of your favorite looks were from this particular runway, if you perceived this or if this is your first time perceiving it. What were some of your favorite looks? And I will see y'all on the flip.